Hello, and welcome back to Mike is talking about Rush and the album discographies. And this is part two, of course. If you missed part one, you saw me lose my Rush fan card live. That was fun, of course, because I ranked 2112 at number 10. I'm sure it did not go over well. I haven't heard if it didn't go over well. My assumption is it did not go over well because, of course, who would put 2112 at number 10? But I did. And this is part two of that series, which will be discussing the top nine. So there are 19 in total. First part, I discussed the first nine, I guess, maybe 10. And this last one, I believe there are 9 records left. Now, if you have not watched or listened to part one, obviously I recommend doing so you know what I have already talked about up to this point. But this is the upper half of the list. These are the albums that I think are just objectively the best Rush records. Now, I say that, of course, with the caveat that I just said, which is 2112 ranked at number 10. So what could I possibly have above it when 2112 was in the bottom half of the list? And, it's a fair point. But the thing about Rush is that, like I said on the last episode, all their albums are great. They've got great stuff across all their eras, across all their work, across their 40 years of career. So these 9 records I'm about to talk about, I like them the most. I think they're the best. I think they are a step above the records I've even talked about, including Press of Steel, 2112, Hold Your Fire, etc. So, excuse me, I'm burping here. If you did watch or listen to the previous episode, you'll know that I covered the Rush eras, so to speak. So, just to briefly bring this up again, even though if you just listened to the last one, you already know, I believe there are 5 eras to Rush. The first era is, of course, their start, and the second era is once they move into like a more modern, popular sound with moving pictures in that era. The third is the synth era. The fourth is the revival back to like the normal rock sound. And then the fifth is their last era, which is everything from Vapor Trails on, basically, after Neil comes back to the band. So much of the last section was a lot of number one, era one, and a lot of era four. And I guess objectively a lot of era five because there's only 3 records in era five. But we have 1 record left from era 1 record left from era 4, and 1 record left from era 5. We have 2 records left for era 3 and 4 from era 2 because objectively era 2 is just the best Rush era. And I think many, many fans can agree with that. But what's funny is, the fourth era, which is that return to the rock sound and getting rid of the synth. A lot of people see that era as like good, but not like anywhere to the quality of era 1 or 2, perhaps even 3. I personally don't feel it's to the quality of a lot of a 3. But there is one Rush era 4 record I have yet to talk about. And it's actually my number 9. It actually is higher than 2112. And this is where, if I didn't lose the Rush fans before, I'm probably going to lose them now. My number 9 is, in fact, Presto. I know, like crazy, huh? Because this is higher than 2112, which is seen as such like a masterpiece record. For me, Presto, I really feel is the most underrated Rush record. I'll take the sleeve out because it's, of course, always given the glare. I can't do one video without having glare on all these things. I think this is just the best of that era, era 4. And I see so many people say, no, Roll the Bones is better, Counterparts is better. I don't think so. I think Presto objectively is just the best of Rush of that time period. And so much of that is because of just the songs on here. I mean, Show Don't Tell as an opener is such a great opener, such a banger of an opener. Chain Lightning, such a catchy song. That listen to that song again and tell me that chorus isn't catchy as hell. You're lying to yourself. The Pass, one of Rush, like the band's, one of their favorite songs. In fact, if you watch Live in Rio, which is a very famous concert they did in the 2000s, at one point during the concert, they always do that thing where they like introduce the next song and they say, all right, next we're going to play for you one of our favorite songs. And they didn't say Tom Sawyer. They didn't say Spirit of Radio. They didn't say YYZ. They didn't say 2112. They said The Pass. And because The Pass is really good, such a good song, such a great progression, such great lyrics, such great content it's talking about. Now, are there moments on the album that aren't the best? Sure. I've never been a huge fan of Warpaint. Superconductor is very corny. Like, yes, it is. It's very of its era. Hand Over Fists has just been fine. But man, did the good moments really sing? The freaking drum work on Scars is crazy that Neil is doing. And then Available Light as the closer. That, like, the triumphantness, the victoryness of Available Light. It's such a good closer. And so much of this record is doing, like, at worst, just like catchy, okay songs. Here's the thing about 2112. Is this record better than side A of 2112? No, it is not. 2112, the side A portion, the 2112 suite, destroys Presto. I will give you that all day. Is this record better than side B of 2112? Yeah, in my opinion, it is. I think this grouping of songs is way better than the side B grouping of songs. In fact, I don't think there's a single song on side B of 2112 that I would take over half the songs on this entire record. Now, the reason I put this above 2112 is because, like I said, while that side A of 2112 is complete magic and amazing, unfortunately, you have that side B. And the side B is okay, but let's not act like it's great. I think 2112 is the most overrated Rush record. I think Presto is the most underrated Rush record. And so that's why I have it at 9, because it's not nearly as good as the stuff we're about to get into, but like, it's a great little record. I don't see why people hate on this thing. I see some people put this at like number 19 on their list. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, really? Think about that. But they do it. So jumping from that to number 8, which is the last record, not only of Era 5, but the last record of their entire career. And that, of course, is Clockwork Angels. What a way to go out. Like, not that Vapor Trails and Snakes and Arrows were bad, but a lot of it just kind of felt like paint by numbers, where it's like, man, Rush is kind of just doing this to do this. Not every song, to be fair, but some of this stuff is just kind of coming across like it's losing the energy. And I've heard / read Geddy Lee's book, and I don't think they were aware necessarily that this would be the last record. But since it is the last record, does it just sing? Does it soar? It is such a good final conclusion to their career and a great capstone to their career as well. Because there's so many great moments on this thing. I mean, just like Caravan as an opener, amazing. Born Up to Believe, that freaking riff, that the boom boom dam boom 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 dam boom boom bam, like it's so good. So, like the fact that they're pulling these riffs out of their like plus 35-year career at this point is ridiculous. It's insane to think. The Anarchist is great. Halo Effect, that chorus is amazing. Seven Cities of Gold, again, another killer of a riff. That like so good. But by far and away, not only my favorite song of this album, but my favorite song of Era 5 of Rush, that last era of them, is Headlong Flight. Headlong Flight is so goddamn good. It's like on par with Era 2 level Rush. Mainly because it's such a good song, but also because it's such a good encapsulation of their career. And Neil totally understood and totally got what the song is. You know, if we're going to look back on our career, what would we say about it? And it's like, I wish I could do it all again because it was great and it was such a good time. And we had so many fond memories about this. I wish I could just relive it all from day one and just go back. But obviously I can't, and I can't do that. So I have to live with that. It's fantastic. Gatefold, by the way. And I will say, as a concept record, I don't entirely follow it, but that's kind of because I don't necessarily care for it as a concept record. I've never given the time in that sense. But man, as a final record to this band, it's an incredible way to go out. A lot of bands that I love don't have records this good as their final record. Like, you know, Repentless by Slayer, that's their last record, and I think it's dog shit. If 72 Seasons is the last Metallica record, it should be the last Metallica record. Will it be? I don't know. But if it is the last one, it's kind of okay. Like, this is a great record. And I'm so glad that they ended their career with such a great record when they could have ended it with a complete whimper. So there you go. Clockwork Angels. Fantastic. All right. From here on out, we're getting into like the expected ones. If you go to any Rush list, these are the albums that you see constantly up towards the top. And the first one is jumping over to the third era, the synthwave era, and that is with Signals. Now, this is the picture disc version of Signals. I do not have the full vinyl covering. I wish I did. I don't. This is just the picture disc version, so that's what we got. You know, a lot of hate gets thrown at the synthwave era of Rush, and I get the hate. Like, I understand why they feel that way, because you're going off Permanent Waves, you're going off Moving Pictures, and this is the direction you take. But I'm so glad they did, because even though this record isn't as good as Permanent Waves or Moving Pictures, it's still a damn good record. There's so many good songs here. I mean, obviously, Subdivisions opens the record. Amazing. The Analog Kid is fantastic. Such a good song. And again, man, can they make a chorus? Can they make a chorus just fucking sing so hard? Analog Kid's chorus, again, triumphant, victorious. You just feel like you've won a battle, and that is the chorus. Chemistry, it's a fine song. It's not one of my favorites, but Digital Man, love that song. Such a cool song. Or excuse me, yeah, Digital Man, yeah. The bass riffing on that one is so like Geddy Lee is just showing off as he does. But then you get the chorus, which is like this police infusion reggae thing, and it should not work, but it does, and it's fantastic for that. The weapon, again, just the precision of these guys, the things these guys are about to pull off and are able to pull off. When there's only 3 of them, folks, there's only 3 guys in this band, and they can make all these noises and these sounds. Crazy. New World Man, good song. Losing It, probably my least favorite. It's not that it's bad, it's just kind of the forgettable one, if I have to say. But bro, Countdown is such a cool song, and it captures the vibe so well, like counting down to ignition or counting down to a spaceship going to Earth. Like it's just cool. Like, yeah, it's nerdy and it's corny and it's stupid, but like, do Rush just know how to make something sound awesome and make something build to a great, fantastic conclusion? I love this record. I think it gets over. I think the whole era of Era 3, the whole synthwave era, gets hated on, but in particular, I think Signals is a great marquee point to say, like, no, this era has quality. Look at this record. There's so much good stuff happening here. So, number 7, meaning that there's other stuff that is in fact better, but this one does rank kind of high. All right, we're finally going to talk about Era 2. We have not talked about Era 2 at all up to this moment. And I mean, if you're a Rush fan, you know why. Era 2 has like just some of their best work. It's just Rush at like, it's the golden age of Rush. And in fact, my number 6 album is actually where it all started, which is A Farewell to Kings. This is post 2112. This is where you kind of move into radio friendly, but also still keeping that proggy sound, still holding on to it very much so. The reason this one falls short is not because I think it's like worse than the others. I just think the other ones have so many more iconic moments on them. Like, this is a good assemblage of tracks. Farewell to Kings, great opener. Again, great commentary. Xanadu. Jeez, man, Xanadu is so cool. And that ethereal audio piece they do at the beginning with the birds and like the bells and the chime, like, man, it's so good. It's such a good song. What's funny is that those 2 songs make up the entirety of side 1 on the vinyl, which I guess kind of makes sense, but then again, not really, because then on side 2, you get Closer to the Heart, a Rush staple, if there ever was one. Cinderella Man, it's a fine song. It's okay. It's not amazing or fantastic, but it does its work. Madrigal, perhaps the most forgettable song, but that's only because it's like 2.5 minutes of just like this little myopic, sad piece of music, although it's kind of hopeful, but who knows, right? But then you get Cygnus X1, which begins the suite of Cygnus X1 here and Cygnus X2 on Hemispheres, which we will talk about later. But of the 2, I think Cygnus X1 is just the weaker of the 2. I think it's the less interesting one, but I will say that fucking bass riff that Geddy does, that boom, 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 like, oh man. How do people think Geddy Lee is not like the coolest bass player or makes the coolest noises with his bass? I know there's a lot of great bass players out there, but Geddy Lee is just the best, in my opinion, on the instrument. Nobody can top him, at least for me. Now, I'm not the most well-versed person. I'm sure Cody probably knows more than I do, but man, does Geddy work all the time. And Cygnus X1 is very clear about that. And then that high note he does at the end of Cygnus X1 on the vocal side of things, like, I don't know how he didn't blow out his vocal cords doing that. Maybe he did. I don't know. So yeah, great record. I'll throw it on the turntable anytime, but I do think there are 5 records that are just more likely to be turned on the table, as it were. And one of those you may be surprised with, maybe not. It's shocking to me that people don't think that this record should be as high as it should be, in my opinion. But what we have here is the last record of Era 1 that I'm going to talk about, the beginning of the band. And it's actually the first record that Neil was a part of the band, and that is, of course, Fly By Night. I love this record. I adore this record, actually. Like, not only as an introduction to Neil Peart, which is like, immediately he showcases what he can do on Anthem, which I'll go off about Anthem in a second, but like, I just think for their first era, this is just like the best work. This is just like the best encapsulation of Neil in the band and what the band can do. 2112, that's sweet. Like, maybe is the marquee bit, but as an overall album, I think this is just the best. Because like I said, Anthem, come on. Come on, dude. Anthem is like the coolest goddamn song ever. Like, the second it starts, I'd be surprised for people. Like, I'm sure people knew going into this that they had a new drummer, but if Rush fans of the first record didn't know they got a new drummer and they heard Anthem start up, they'd probably be like, holy shit, John Rutsey got like really frenetic and really good. And I thought John was bad. John was a, competent drummer. He did what he did, but like, you go from John to Neil Peart, my dude. Like, way to just like hit Mount Olympus, really. Love Anthem. One of my favorite, honestly, might be my favorite song of Era 1, if you don't count the entirety of 2112. Best I Can. Fun follow-up. A good song. Here's the difference, right? Is the songs on 2112 side 2, I wouldn't necessarily call like fun. They are just kind of there and kind of corny in the case of Passage to Bangkok, or kind of forgettable in some cases for the other songs. But like, I throw on this record and I'm having fun the entire way through. It's just a good time. Beneath, Between, and Behind, crazy song lyrically. By Torn the Snow Dog, though, like the first true epic that Rush would ever do. It's so good, dude. Like that middle port, like the first portion obviously is great, but they get to that middle jam portion, and Neil is doing those drum solo / fills, and it's the boom, 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 like just like trading off. It's so good. And then you have that like ethereal march, like dirge kind of section. Like, By Torn the Snow Dog is so good. I love it so much. Fly By Night, of course, classic. Not really much to say. I will say the second half of Fly By Night is certainly like the weaker half in my opinion, because you get Making Memories. Now, personally, I like that song, but it's not certainly memorable, that's for sure. Rivendell, as much as I love Lord of the Rings, I think Rivendell is kind of a boring song. It's 5 minutes. I think you could have easily shaved off 2 of those minutes and been perfectly fine. So if I'm going to give any credence to side B of 2112, I will say I think I prefer Tears to Rivendell, but not much else. And then finally, In the End, again, another great closing track in my opinion. So as an overall record, I think Fly By Night is just the best thing Rush did in the first era. As an overall record, I think 2112 has issues, but if you take 2112 Suite and isolate it, then yeah, that's the best thing Rush did in Era 1, like obviously, but it's on a record that has another side to it, and the other side isn't very good, at least in my opinion. This, while side 2 of this record isn't exactly amazing, I do think it's good, and side 1 I think is pretty great, so that's why it lands where it does. Okay, we got 4 records left. And how do I preface this? 3 of them are from Era 2, and you already know what 3 they are. But there's one record that is not from Era 2 that I have yet to talk about. And you may be in the back of your mind going like, which one is it? And more importantly, where is it landing? That's the real key factor. But I can tell you, it's not at number 4. Because my number 4 is Hemispheres. I think perhaps the greatest prog achievement of this band. And what I mean by that is that this record is very much a prog record. Like, not only do you get Cygnus X1, or rather, well, it's Cygnus X1 Book 2. I was going to call it Cygnus X2, but that's incorrect. You get Cygnus X1 Book 2, which is such a good prog epic. Like, this one is 18 minutes in length, and you feel the weight of it, but it also, like, every moment of it is great and fantastic and feels good the whole way through. So that's why I prefer this to Cygnus X1, because Cygnus X1 is shorter. I keep saying X1 Book 1 is shorter and not as nearly interesting or cohesive or really engaging as this one is, in my opinion. So the whole first side is just that, and it's really good, I will admit. But I think the real achievement of this record is side 2, where they do a 2112 thing, where the first side is one collective piece. And it's good, like 2112. Again, it's not as good as 2112, but it is very good. And they could have made the same mistake they did with 2112, where side 2 is just like, we have to fill something here. Let's just throw these songs on. They're not the greatest, but whatever. Who cares? Like we nailed it with side one. People won't even consider side two. Here they go. Okay, we nailed it with side one. Let's like fucking up the game on side two. Because with side two, you get Circumstances, which maybe perhaps a deeper cut for non-Rush fans. Still a great song though. Like such a great intense song. The Trees, a classic. Who can forget the woodblock solo? You know, it's awesome. But dude, La Villa Strangata as like your closing song, a closing instrumental, La Villa Strangata. It might be my favorite Rush song if I'm being honest. Like, I think I actually prefer it to YYZ. Oh, that sounds so wrong to say. That sounds awful. But like, man, do I love this song. It's actually got what might be my favorite guitar solo of all time, which of course is that like ethereal guitar solo Alex does around like the 3-minute mark. La Villa Strangata is so goddamn good. I wish 2112 had a side two as good as this side two, because if it did, 2112 arguably could be like number 1 or 2 or 3 depending, but like it would be way higher than 10. Unfortunately, it doesn't. This succeeds where 2112 did not. And so for that purpose and for those reasons, I had to make this one go high, because like everything here is great. Also, the fucking brain imagery, like, how do you not like that? And I'm pretty sure this is Apollo and Dionysus, but like, you've never seen Apollo depicted that way. You know, if you know the story of the whole Cygnus thing, you know, but like, it's a great record. It's fantastic. So yeah, number 4. There you go. Hemispheres. I wish I could put it at number 1. In my heart, all these records are number 1, because I would have no problem putting any of these things on. And that is certainly the case for number 3, which if I didn't upset fans with my number 10 placement of 2112, and I didn't upset Rush fans with my number 9 placement of Presto, I may upset them with this one, but not necessarily hardcore Rush fans. I think I would shock and upset the like radio Rush fans, the people that know the basic Rush radio songs, because a lot of them come from this record, and that is Moving Pictures. Yes, Moving Pictures is my number 3. It is not my number 1 or 2 even. Yeah, we did a whole episode on this, and one of the next records we're going to talk about, is it number 1 or number 2? You have to wait and find out. But this, like in so many ways, this is the best Rush record. It just kind of is. What is there even to, I mean, Tom Sawyer is not only the opener, but it's like on this album, and Tom Sawyer is like the Rush song, and it's perfect. It's amazing. Everything about it is just flawless. I can't really add anything. And again, we did a whole episode on this, so if you really want all the extended thoughts, just go back to that episode. But man, side 1 of this thing is just completely flawless. You have Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, YYZ for fuck's sake, and Limelight. Like, impeccable side 1, perfect side 1, not a single second of a flaw anywhere. Why is this at number 3 though, and not number 2 and number 1 if I feel that way? Because side 2 has the camera eye, which I think is amazing. I love the camera eye. I love the 2 phases of it. I love the whole like New York portion and the London portion. I think it's really cool how they did that. I personally really like Witch Hunt. I think Witch Hunt is a cool little song. It's not amazing, obviously, but it's, you know, a cool little jam vibe to it. My problem has always been Vital Signs. I've never loved Vital Signs as a song. I don't think it's horrendous or just like a skip track, but like for me, it's by far and away the weakest song on this record, which I think most people would say Witch Hunt is the weakest. No, I love Witch Hunt compared to Vital Signs. And I don't even know what it is. Vital Signs just has like this vibe, this energy that like is not really fitting me when it comes to Rush. When it comes to Rush, I want to hear YYZ, Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, Camera Eye, songs we're about to talk about in a couple seconds here, or a minute or two. Yeah, so this record, like, if anyone puts this at number 1, it's not a shock at all. Like, it's Moving Pictures. It's like the classic Rush record. So yes, it deserves to be top 5, top 3. It deserves to be number 1, honestly. Like, it has the pedigree. For me, though, there's just 2 records that I'll always go back to more. Now, the one that is probably obvious is, you know, Permanent Waves. We haven't talked about Permanent Waves yet, and Permanent Waves was what Moving Pictures was up against. And as I said on that episode, I do prefer Permanent Waves over Moving Pictures. So the fact that it's higher than Moving Pictures is not a shock. The question is it 1 or 2? And I'm sure most people would put down money that it has to be number 1. It's not. It's number 2. My number 2 pick is Permanent Waves, where for years and years, this was my number 1. Everything about Permanent Waves I adore. There's just one other record I like a little bit more. And of course, we'll get to that in a second. And I think people are not going to listen to what I'm saying because now they're going to start guessing what that record is. If you've been listening the whole time, you probably know what it is and you're shocked and in awe. But we will get there. So why do I like Permanent Waves more than Moving Pictures? It's because whereas Moving Pictures issue was Vital Signs, there's no Vital Signs issue on this. Honestly, if Vital Signs, how do I phrase this? If Vital Signs with off Moving Pictures, I think they're neck and neck. And in fact, I think Moving Pictures might take it over over Permanent Waves. The problem is Permanent Waves doesn't have a Vital Signs moment for me. Again, a perfect side one. You have Spirit of Radio opening. Like, what am I supposed to say? What am I going to say that's going to add anything of quality? Free Will, amazing song. It's just like an amazing Rush radio song. Jacob's Ladder, amazing. Like a deep cut for sure for like radio hits. You never hear it on the radio, but still a killer song. Amazing, amazing song. And side 2, I think, is also really great. Entre Nous. I love that song. I love the lyrics. I love the content. I love what it's saying. So yeah. The dud moment for me, and I wouldn't even call it a dud moment, I would say the lowest point of Permanent Waves, is Different Strings. I think it's just the weakest song, but even then, I think it's, I'll never skip it. I'll listen to it every time because I think it's great. But on top of it, I love Natural Science. I actually like Natural Science more than Camera Eye. Something about this song, the progression, the rhythm, the riffs that are throughout it, the lyrics. I love the lyrics. I don't recall any of them offhand. And plus they're Neil Peart lyrics, so they're like out of a philosophy book. But yeah, Permanent Waves for me, I think, is in the same way Moving Pictures is Rush at its best. I think Permanent Waves is also Rush at its best. The fact that they came out with Permanent Waves into Moving Pictures is kind of insane. And honestly, the fact that they did Farewell to King's Hemisphere's Permanent Waves Moving Pictures, that run is fucking ridiculous. Like, that 4-album run is up there with some of the best 4-album runs of all time. So, yeah, it's amazing. I love every second of it. It's a 10 out of 10 record, honestly. But so is number 1. Now, what is number 1? Again, I have never seen this record at number 1 on any Rush list I've ever looked at. Now, admittedly, I haven't looked at all of them, but if you type in Google, Rush discography ranked, you will never see this record at number 1. In fact, a lot of people tend to put this record in the bottom half, which I think is absurd. My number 1, believe it or not, and I'm actually going to take it out of its casing because I don't want the glare. My number 1 is indeed Grace Under Pressure. How in the holy hell could Grace Under Pressure beat any of the records we just talked about? Maybe not Presto, but like, how is this any better than Moving Pictures or Hemispheres or Farewell to Kings or Fly? Like, I don't know, man. Like, are those records better records? Yeah, sure, right? But there's something about this one. Also, great picture of the guys. There's something about this record that just has like a spark. It has a hat trick that like the other ones just don't pull off for me. Of course, it's part of the synth era, so synths are everywhere on this thing. But man, do they add so much flavor to all of these songs. Distant Early Warning as an opener, like, it is synth infused. It's everywhere, but man, does it add so much flavor to that song. Maybe, I know I already said that, like, Anthem's my favorite. Like, there's a lot of favorite Rush songs, obviously, but up there in the pantheon for me is After Image. Perhaps the deepest cut favorite Rush song, but man, After Image. And I think what it might be, beyond the fact that, the fact that it's produced, the album sounds amazing. It sounds so good. But it's just the way they make the synths work on this record, where it doesn't really work as much for me on Power Windows and Hold Your Fire. On this record, it's like, if you take the synths away, this record just falls apart, in my opinion. Like, you need the synths here. Because when you get to the chorus of After Image, and they're doing like those stabbing synths on the end, like the boom, boom, ding, boom, 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 but like, oh my God, I don't know how to describe it. Every time I hear it, I get so excited. I get so giddy. Like, it's one of those musical moments for me. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Red Sector A, amazing song. Just like talking about like being trapped in camps and like the allegory between like the concentration camps of the Nazis and like this sci-fi sort of futuristic one. Amazing. The Enemy Within, fast, fun, frenetic, an enjoyable time every time. The Body Electric might be my least favorite song on here, but that's not saying much. I still love it. I just think the whole 100100 SOS thing like kind of gets old after a little bit of time, but by the time it gets super old, we're on to Kid Gloves, which is another great track. Red Lenses is really fun. And Between the Wheels, God. Honestly, at times feels like Rush's heaviest song. And part of the reason it feels so heavy is because the synths are being used to such a heavy degree. They are like 1,000-pound weights being dropped on you. And man, does it sound so good and feels so good. The feeling that this record gives me, like the other records just don't do. Like I feel amazing listening to Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures and Fly By Night, obviously. But like when I listen to this record, it ignites something in me that just like most music doesn't. Because most of the music I listen to doesn't sound like this. It sounds like Moving Pictures or Permanent Waves. This doesn't sound like Moving Pictures. Like it does, but it doesn't. And I think I admire that for it. But then to take it to the degree they take it with this record, for me, it's just my favorite. Again, is it the best Rush record? No, I don't think so. But for me, it's just I'll always grab this one first and be like, if I have to pick one, like you have to go to a deserted island or isolate, whatever, right? And you pick one of the Rush records to take with you. Which one? I'm picking this one. I'm sorry to say. So yeah, obviously not the most common Rush list you've ever seen. A lot of weird placements, but that's just how I feel about my favorite band of all time. And that's how I feel about placing their records in this case. So if you did join me for that long ass journey of going through 19 albums and 20 if you count feedback, then thank you for joining me. If you think I'm out of my mind and that my picks are stupid and dumb, feel free to tell me, right? I'd be happy to know where your placement is. I'm even welcome to hearing your dissenting opinions and saying I'm an idiot. That's totally fine. I'm welcome to hear them. But if you don't, thanks for listening. Thank you for being you. And we hope to see you on a album fight club soon or just the next thing you listen to. So until then, do take care.